Hostile Takeover is the Micheal Jai White mega blockbuster action movie where he showed the world that the best way to solve problems is to kung fu his way out of everything.
I just really like my job.
We will dive into Amazon Prime movie of Hostile Takeover, where a professional hitman must fight his way through assassins after they claim his disloyalty due to attending a Workaholics Anonymous meeting.
What are you talking about?
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 The cast of the movie are as follows: Micheal Jai White as Pete, Aimee Stolte as Mona, and Don Olivieri as Angel. The movie starts off as Pete in an anonymous program. Before he tells his story, he does some kung fu fighting in the elevator because it is his job to kick some butt. On a serious note, he's a professional hitman who really enjoys his job, and that's what he tells the people in the meeting.
I'm Pete, and I am a workaholic. I just really like my job.
This dude gets a call from someone that broke the code and snitch on them, and they're all blaming Pete Strykyr.
Find Pete Strykyr.
Blaming Pete is not a smart decision, they will find out later. The next scene, Pete is out minding his business, walking down the street in New York when someone clocked him on the head for no reason.
He's done.
This guy, whose name is Reaper, trying to get him to talk, but Pete has no idea what he's talking about. They started talking about the dodgeball and why Pete never shows up playing dodgeball. Reaper is really into his feelings about the dodgeball thing. Now they get serious about and want to torture him because they think Pete is a snitch.
Wait, are you talking about my support group? I just needed a safe space to work through my feelings.
All of a sudden we have an all-time fight scene.
But I admire your ambition.
Pete beat all of them senseless, and then Pete still don't know what they are talking about.
What are you talking about?
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 Then another one-on-one fight, which results in Reaper passing out due to head bleeding, and that scene's in. The next scene, this lady greeting everyone, and Pete's walking into the bar wanting a drink because he whooped up a few people from the scene earlier. Pete and Mona is her name are having a spirited conversation about trust issue, and she does not trust Pete because it's in her place of establishment.
You?
Right?
You don't have it in you.
All of a sudden, Muerto and a few of his Mexican friends shows up trying to jump Pete, and they tell him they can't stand him because he never show up to their wedding. Then we have another all-time fight scene with Pete doing some Mortal Kombat moves which result in beating them like a piñata.
But I admire your ambition.
This Mexican tried to bluff them saying 6 bullets in the chamber, but did not realize they hold 7 bullets.
Any bullets in this guy?
Surprise, mother.
Pete want Mona to make the call to her father, telling him that he's not a rat. As a result, Pete wants to prove that he is not the rat, and we have a cleanup of aisle 9.
Musgrove, I need a cleanup. Yeah, Pete was here. He just left.
The next scene, Pete is in the car with Micheal and a few Asians, and they address him because he missed their first fashion show, and they was not happy about it. Pete is really not good at friends, and everyone hates him. All of a sudden, we have another fight scene in a car, and this time it's against the Asians.
You could have disappeared in the shadows.
As a result, Pete tossed them out the car and drive out like a boss.
I know we're supposed to be in the circle of secrecy and all that.
At this point, everyone thinks Pete is a snitch. Pete can't be trusted, and Pete only cares for himself. So Pete shows up to another guy's house, and he, like everybody else, don't trust him and think he's a snitch.
I'm not a rat.
They talk for a minute about trust issues, and we have another fight scene. Pete does more Mortal Kombat kung fu moves result in a fall call from the guy's wife.
But but I admire your ambition.
Then they go right back into another fight scene, and this guy tell him what he really need to do to prove his innocence. The next scene, Pete goes to Mona's home, and they have another spirit conversation about people moving on with their lives. But Pete gets hit by a dart. He had a dream that people was in an anonymous meeting, safe space, trying to take him out with Gatling guns because he's warned about people coming to take him out to unalive him. Pete wakes up from a dream and a bunch of people shows up, and we have another fight scene.
You could have disappeared in the shadows.
Which result in Pete beating them like they stole something at Walmart. Pete expressing his feelings for Mona, but he still has the thrill of doing kung fu stuff.
Really like my job.
This guy is angry at Pete and he's kicking their butt, and they have one job and they screw that up. So he finally calls Pete and expresses his feeling about Pete can't be trusted. Pete steers clear for himself by telling his boss about all the bodies he had taken out, but the boss is not buying it. So the boss told him, you have to sunrise to prove your innocence.
How do I prove that I'm not a rat by sunrise?
So Mora showed Pete her gun collections, and I guess they're about to cause some chaos. Wow, Pete doing more kung fu stuff. Mora is sniping him like target practice.
You're welcome.
Pete sneak into the building, and we have another fight scene. And an all-out shootout. Unfortunately for Mora, she is captured like an idiot. The next scene, Mona meets Angel, who wants to know why are you snooping around her property. Angel warns her about the family might go to war thinking Pete is a snitch.
We all deal in death though in one way or another.
While they are having a girl talk, Pete is having another fight scene, and simultaneously Mona and Angel have a one-on-one girl fight of their own. Pete and Mona is taking a beating of a lifetime, but they turn the tables on them and they have the upper hand. Mona is almost about to be beaten until Pete shows up to save her, and Angel falls to her demise. So they need proof of kill to prove that Pete is innocent, which will result in taking pictures. So they decide to talk about their future, but the boss shows up and tells him that it was all a setup and Pete was a snitch. Basically, he used him and Mona to eliminate Angel. He also tells them there's life outside of kung fu fighting, and everyone should just enjoy life as a family and try to make it work. And the movie ends. This movie is based on Pete caring for himself. Whenever he meets anyone, they tell him they don't like him, they can't trust him, and he never show up to any events like the weddings, fashion show, and dodgeball. All of them express their thoughts, and all of them get beat up by Pete. Pete has to find a way not to become self-centered and need to move on from being a professional hitman.
No, I just talk about needing work-life balance.
Pete realized that he still have feelings for Mona despite their history. At the end of the day, they work out their differences, prove Pete was innocent, and Pete and Mona can move on with their lives. Well, sort of. When it comes to Micheal Jai White movies, you are going to get multiple kung fu fight scenes. Guns blazing, bones cracking, furnitures and tables are tearing apart. But it's MJW movie, and you're not going to get a 5-star acting for a cool action-packed movie for an hour and 30 minutes. I would rate this movie 7 stars. If you want to see more upcoming reviews, press the like, share, and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next movie review.
I'm not a rat.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?